Hello, we are at Link Campus University in Rome, and we have the privilege to host Penny Herscher. Penny is a well-known tech CEO in the US, and she accepted to meet our students for a Q&A session. So thank you for accepting this, Penny, and thank you on behalf of the university and on behalf of our students, because I'm sure they will enjoy your suggestions. Okay?
Thank you. My pleasure.
And so without further ado, let's start with Q&A. Okay? For student.
So, good afternoon. My name is Veronica, and my question is, we are aware of the fact that gender diversity plays a crucial role within the board of directors, since it provides an inclusive approach in the analysis of the issue. However, at global level, board of directors are mainly attended by men, despite the fact that there are several norms on gender equality. Since these laws are apparently ineffective, can you suggest us further tools for the achievement of gender equality in the board of directors?
So I don't think it would be accurate to say that they're ineffective, because the change is happening very fast. If you look at the statistics of the new, I forget the exact numbers, but the percentage of new directors in the last 12 months that were women, it is something like 40 or 50%. So it's changing, because the law is, especially the California law and now the new NASDAQ ruling, are creating the change. But there are a couple of things that we could do to make it move faster. They are controversial, but one of them is to put tenure limits in place. So in the United States, there's no limit to how long you can sit on a board. You can sit on a board for 25 years and you're not considered an insider. Whereas, for example, in France, if you sit on the board for more than 12 years, you're considered an insider. And so if you want to have independent boards, one of the ways to do it would be to say at 10 years or 12 years, you are no longer independent, boards would turn over. The other is age limits. I have sat on boards with men who are 80 years old. Debatable whether that's healthy or not, to be on a board of a modern tech company if you're 80 years old. And so putting age limits in place. Now, some increasing number of boards are saying 70, 72, 75 are the age limits, but it's still less than 20% of boards have age limits. So tenure and age limits would cause the turnover to happen faster.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Federico.
Good evening, my name is Federico, and my question is, although you live some thousands of miles away from here, we know you like Italy, and it occupies a special place in your heart. What are your thoughts on the Italian situation, the social situation, mainly on women's condition in companies?
You know, I don't think I'm qualified to comment on that, because I don't know. I have not worked with any Italian companies in 15 years. And the company I did work a lot with was ST in Agrati. And I'm not sure I ever met a woman there. So I don't feel qualified. Are there women in Italian companies?
We are having some.
I'm being facetious. But.
That's a good answer. So, Vincenzo.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Vincenzo. You talked about changing happening. So, according to your opinion, are quotas for women a concrete tool for the achievement of equality and justice, or just tokenism?
They are very much a concrete tool, because in a homogeneous group, does homogeneous translate? You'll know what homogeneous means.
Yeah.
In a homogeneous group, there tends to be strong resistance to difference. So any group of people who are all the same will often resist change, resist the new person coming in. In fact, there's a number of studies done on the first woman on a board is typically not listened to. It isn't until you have 3 women on a board that the women's voices are treated equally to men's voices. This is not about gender, this is just about human tribalism, right? And so what the quota does is the quota forces the beginning of change. And you don't have to get to full equality to have the ball start rolling and the momentum start changing. So I actually don't believe it's tokenism anymore. I think it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was the only woman on every board I sat on. And I'm seeing it's most of the boards I've been involved with have been actively and aggressively trying to diversify. And those that don't, I now quit.
Thank you.
No, because Penny, being a board member is something. Being a CEO, so having a woman as a CEO is something else.
Very rare, yes.
Good evening, I'm Giulio.
Police studio.
So recently, the world witnessed the inequality gap getting wider and wider, somewhat confirming the saying, buy when there's blood in the streets. Do you think big corporations can do something to reverse this trend? And if so, in what direction should they move?
Buy when the blood is on the street.
That's right. So you're talking about the income inequality gap. Yes, it is definitely getting worse at the moment. But it is not as bad as it has been for us as a species. So is this a disaster? I don't think so. I think it will naturally correct. Some of the income inequality we're having is coming from the very rapid buildup of wealth in technology. That will ameliorate over time as technology becomes more widely accessible to everybody. But I don't have a solution for the immediate. It's worrying in the United States, but I don't think we're up against a revolution yet.
But tech will improve income gap.
Over time, because technology makes work easier for everybody. We shouldn't be working so hard. I'm a Keynesian, I'm from King's, right? We shouldn't be working so hard. We should be working 3 or 4 days a week. And technology should be doing much more of the heavy lifting for us as a species.
There's a debate underway right now on 4 days work a week. And, we're not experimenting this in Italy, but there's a debate going on. So,
Thank you.
So I'm Mona, and my question is, according to your opinion, can labor unions, social parties, as well as social movements have an impact on the achievement of gender equality in companies? And additionally, how can this be possible?
If the labor unions can affect gender diversity? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know, actually. I don't know. They should be able to, on the shop floor, the shop floors tend to be, based on the industry, tend to be either very female-dominated or very male-dominated, not typically diverse. So I would think the labor unions could, but I don't feel qualified to give you a really good answer on that one.
Thank you for your comment.
Good afternoon, I'm Giulio, and in 2020 we had so many life-changing events, and one of them was surely probably the most heated presidential election ever in the United States. Do you think that Joe Biden's election has already changed, or will it change the corporate America and corporate environment for American companies? And if so, how?
I think we'll know in the next few weeks. I think the Biden administration wishes to make material change, particularly around climate change, but the House is evenly divided, and the Senate is evenly divided. And so if he can't get the votes for climate change, no, it won't make any difference to the corporations. Corporations are ultimately self-serving because we live in a capitalist society. And I think unless it becomes obvious to corporations that they need to change for their own long-term health, they won't change unless the government steps in.
Thank you.
Hello. Good evening, and I'm Ricardo. So, in a video conference that we had last April with Professor Matera during our law and economics course, I remember you saying there should be more Italians in boardrooms. And
I think that was a joke.
I think it was a joke.
But you never should do that. You know, in Italy, because they take you literally.
Okay, all right.
so basically, from what I understood, it was referred to our capacity to appease and to find the right compromise in discussions. So beside these two values, what are other values about the Italian culture that you think can be useful also in a professional setting? Tough question.
Especially because she is in Italy right now.
Yeah.
So I don't pretend to be an expert on Italian culture. But I can say that I find the warmth and generosity and good manners of the Italian people very healthy for a good discussion. I have not experienced here ego-driven discussion. Some cultures in the United States are very ego-driven. I'm going to tell you what I think because I'm the big man. And I have not experienced that here at all. And I find that fascinating. I experience intellectual elitism, the knowledge that you're better, which I think the Italians and the French share. There's a knowledge, you know you're better, but you don't have to lead with it, exactly. Which I think is very healthy for a balanced discussion.
Thank you.
In Latin we say, qui nascite di simulare, nascite regnare. If you cannot pretend, you cannot rule. Which is a quotation from Louis XI, King of France, and the saint, although he slaughtered a lot of people.
Yes, yeah.
Actually, the motto worked. And probably that's the point that we got Machiavelli, you know that.
Yes,
so
yeah.
I think we are good at pretending, but if you need some ego-driven discussion in Italy, we can provide something.
Okay, all right, good to know.
Hi, good evening. I'm Vera. First of all, congrats for your achievements. And then, according to your experience, which firm do you think adopt the best tools in order to integrate within the process productivity the gender equality?
So, I think there are some industries, rather than firms, let's talk about industries,
yes,
that have done a much better job of integrating gender equality. So, for example, pharmaceuticals, all the consumer goods industries, the industries that interact directly with the consumer, where the product is going directly to the consumer, tend to have done a better job. So food, pharmaceuticals, beauty products, household products. The industries that are lagging, that are not doing a good job, are technology and finance in particular are not doing a good job. And I think it's because they don't have to. So the industries that have truly advanced their ability to have gender equality have had to create good products and good go-to-market strategies. In the end, capitalism works. People do what they have to do to make more money. So if having women in your workforce and women in your sales team or women in your drug sales team means you sell more, you have more women. If you don't need them to sell more, you stay male. So you have to look at the end industry and the requirements of the end industry.
It's the efficiency argument.
It's the efficiency of capitalism, yes.
Thank you.
Allegra, your turn.
Hi, I'm Allegra. So I have a very theoretical question. So it's obvious that women have made strides in history to achieve even the positions we can have today. I mean, compared to Nora Ephron, we can make many differences in the world. But there is still a subliminal fight, obviously, that we need to have to achieve certain positions. And do you think that there will ever be a certain point in the future where it will just be easier? Where
Yes.
we won't have to have gender quotas, to have men obliged to hire women, it will just come naturally?
I think it will reverse over time.
It will reverse.
I think women will have more power than men over time.
Because unfortunately, the point that's setting us back right now is that obviously the generation that is in control now is used to a certain type of routine and life where women are not in control. So hopefully by having generations like mine and the one that will come after mine, be used to a certain world where everything will come normally. So just hope that the fight will get easier at some point.
So I'll answer your question in a theoretical fashion, but I am very, very optimistic for two reasons. One, we're moving into a world where physical strength is less and less important. We have machines to do the work for us. Software, mechanical machines. The people who are the most powerful in the world today are no longer the men who can fight best. You go back 500 years, the leaders were the ones who could fight best, right? That is so dramatically not the case. Look at the most powerful men in the world, the richest men in the world. None of them are fighters. So physical strength is less and less of a requirement. And every generation that technology is doing the work for human beings, you see women have a better role in society. So I am 2 generations above you in terms of work generations. And I look at my generation and the generation of the 40-somethings. The 40-something generation has so much more capacity to allow women to have equality. The men want to be involved in their children. They want to be home for their children. My generation, you didn't go home till 9 o'clock at night. I never had dinner with my children in the week. Most men in their 40s would not accept what I accepted. So every generation is getting better. And I think it's not 50 years, but I think in 200 years, it will be very different than it is today. We need childcare, we need good health care, but that's for everybody. But the only moment of true vulnerability for women is around childbirth. And that's such a short part of your life that if you decide you're going to have equality with men, you can have it. And you just have to make sure that the very short period of your life where you're most vulnerable, somebody is protecting you. But even that doesn't have to be a man.
I agree.
Well,
Thank
Penny,
you.
that does not mean that this generation cannot make the difference.
No,
I mean, it's
but
Yes.
I speak for myself.
So
For me, it
please
takes
feel in
a
charge.
lot of thoughts and work to imagine myself in a high point in a company. I look at it as something very big to achieve, and I hope that at some point in the mind of a young girl, it does not look like this big thing that one needs to get. Well, for my brother, maybe it's the easiest thing in the world.
But I'm here to tell you, you can do it. Any woman can do it. You just have to decide you're going to do it. And yes, there are times you're very tired, and there are times you're very angry. But you can do it if you want to do it. And don't let anybody ever tell you you can't.
Thank you very much.
Inspirational. Last question. Thank you, Penny, for your time.
Good afternoon, I'm Domiziana, and I would like to ask you which are the best policies as well as managerial tools to use in order to fight against the well-known glass ceiling? I know.
So I think to fight against the glass ceiling, you have to be willing to work harder and smarter than the men around you. You have to be willing to do that, because we talked right at the beginning about the natural behavior of homogeneous groups that are the same. They don't let you in. It doesn't matter if you're in a bar or you're in a company. A group of people that are the same don't like somebody who's different. So you have to be smarter than them and better than them. And if you're willing to work harder, there is no glass ceiling. You just have to be willing to fight. And you also have to be willing to call it when somebody says, I'm not going to give you that because you're a woman. I'm not going to give you that promotion because, Penny, you just had your second child, and I really don't think you're going to have the time. And I went, time out. Time out. So you have to be willing to fight, but there is no glass ceiling if you're really willing to fight. And you may not be liked, you may not have very many friends, but you'll break the glass ceiling. You can do it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. And this is your suggestion to students, to young women who are about to.
And by the way, to the young men too, because seriously, no, you will find all along the way, whether you're male or female, that there will be people who will put you down to compete with you. They'll tell you, you can't do that. Oh, that's too much risk for you. And it's really, really important, male or female, that you decide what you want and you go for it and you don't let other people control what you want to do. But you have to be willing to work really hard. But there's nothing you can't do if you decide you want to do it, for all of you. I really believe that. I mean, now I come from California, so we're a little goofy there, but I truly believe it. And I know Italian society is more structured than California society. I grew up in England. It's why I went to California. But I think even within a structured society, if you add more value to the group that you're in, you will get more opportunity. Capitalism works.
Take action. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
Penny Herscher, Link Campus University.